it's good to have you back in this second video in the Game Changers online course. We're excited to jump into some of the first concepts and models we'll be looking at today. Right now in this video, we're going to look at the pre-course concepts that are really going to help us frame the whole course. This is what we need to know before we jump too much further into this program. So the first course, or the first concept rather, in this course that we have to look at is the Learning Continuum. If you would jump to your workbooks on the pre-course page, just after our introductions, you'll see down the bottom of the page a Learning Continuum. Now on the left-hand side, it says passive, with a dotted line right through to the right-hand side, which says active. And would you agree, Lauren, that learning can be either passive or active?
It can be either passive or active, and sometimes anywhere in between.
Right, absolutely. So that's what we're going to touch on right now. When we are engaged in learning something and we are passively learning, we're right up that left-hand side of the continuum. What is that like for us as learners? Do we retain that information?
Well, it's interesting, as I think most of the time that's where we spend our learning. You think of your years in school, just sitting there, teacher up the front, tapping on the board, and you sitting in the classroom or in the lecture theatre, listening. That's passive learning.
It is, absolutely. Similar with universities. It's a lecturer down the front, and we're sitting in pews with our notebooks, and the most active that we get in that learning environment is we take a note here or there. And if we don't even take a note, then we are fully passive. We're not going to retain any of that. We'll walk away from a 40-minute lecture, remembering 5 seconds of that lecture.
And how often do we do that? And you walk away, gee, that was awesome. Okay, what did they talk about? Let me think now. What were those key points anyway?
Absolutely.
That's the problem with passive learning.
It's true. So whether you're thinking of school or university or a PD you've been to, I've heard the phrase death by PowerPoint used a lot by corporate executives who attend a lot of PDs. I know that teachers attend a lot of PDs, and that kind of death by PowerPoint way of delivering information in a PD setting, it just doesn't work. 3 months later, that teacher in that classroom is probably not applying any of the concepts they were taught in that PD, because yes, they were taught those concepts, but they didn't learn them. The learning was too passive.
And that's it. And that's interesting. I think we need to make a distinction too between teaching material and learning material, and that's why I think that's the problem is we spend a lot of time on focusing on teaching but not on the learning. But where do we go when we go up the other end then?
Well, I think
up to the active end.
Right. Well, when we're right up the active end, I think where adventure-based learning sits up there. So your ropes course activities, when they're debriefing the ropes course activity, and you've learnt so much jumping around with ropes in a harness for 20 minutes. You've learnt more than an entire 4-year bachelor.
That's right. It's real hands-on, isn't it?
It is, absolutely.
A bit like, I guess, like an apprenticeship. They might spend a day in at the trade college, but then they spend most of their time out actually in the field, working hands-on, usually alongside another professional or a mentor that can really help them through that learning process.
And you asked that apprentice mechanic where they found they learnt the most. Did they learn it in that trade college, in that TAFE with their textbooks open and some stuff written on the whiteboard, or did they learn more underneath a car? And of course their answer is going to be underneath a car.
And it's interesting, I know just recently I had even my own brother had just studied in remedial massage therapy, and he came to my clinic one day a week for some work experience while he was still at college doing his diploma, and they learned some great information there. In fact, they probably shared more information there than I was sharing in the clinic, but guess how much he remembered? And in which format did he actually take the most away? And a number of times he said to me, Lauren, I'm learning so much more here in with you just for the day than I do the whole week at college. So it's definitely the way for us to learn.
So connecting back to our last video where we were introducing the program, and we invited you to really engage in this process. This is where we take that a bit of a step further, and I want to ask you right now, if you were to take a pen and in your workbook on that learning continuum, just put an X in the middle of that continuum where you're up out of passive, but you're kind of not down the active end either because, well, let's face it.
It's virtual, this course.
Yeah,
there is a limit to how much active learning we're going to get.
Absolutely. So sitting watching your iPad or your phone or listening to the podcast in the car or sitting at your computer desk and on a laptop or on a computer with your headphones on maybe and watching these lectures is fairly passive. So my question is, how can we move you out of that far left, out of that extreme passive learning where you're not doing anything, we're just asking you to remember what we say and then go away and change your life on your own. How can you as a participant learning through this online emotional health course move up out of that passive area somewhere into the middle where you're up out of the extreme passive, you're doing some active learning, you're not down in the active end, but you're somewhere in the middle. That's where we're hoping you can land. And I think it's things like the online community.
That will definitely help. I mean, the initial thing is just to open your book and make a few notes and that. That takes it a step further. Then the active community that we've got, that's going to be a great way because it's a little bit more discussion and hearing other people's experience. And it's important for you to share your experience as well because that helps us to really process and integrate what we're learning as well.
Absolutely. Like Lauren said, taking notes, writing down what's something that we've said in this video, either Lauren has said or I've said, or maybe it's more than one thing that really stood out to you. Don't just let that fly by and be an aha moment that doesn't turn into anything active, but you just passively had an aha moment. Don't let that moment fly by, and we're going to talk about reflection coming up soon, but instead take a note, write that down. What was it that Lauren said that really jumped and grabbed me? What was that? And I really don't want to lose that. I think that's important. Also, for each concept, we're going to give you some kind of activity, task, homework, some kind of thing to do before you hit play on the next video. And it's really important that you do that. We've got no way of monitoring that, so we don't know. You can go through the course and not do any of the suggestions or tasks or homework that we give you. But we really want to implore you right now that what's going to help this go from just an inspirational kind of feel-good set of videos that you paid money to watch to being something really transformational that, well, I can distinctly remember a time before I invested in that program. And since investing in that program, I've seen some real change, some real growth in my life that I can attribute to that program, which makes that program really valuable. I think that's going to be really throwing yourself into the activities, really trying to draw the most out of this program that you can. And again, moving up out of passive learning up into more of an active involvement in this process.
Josh, can I just add one final thing with that?
Absolutely.
I mean, there's a lot of things that we're going to be teaching throughout all of these different videos, particularly in the videos coming up. And we'll teach you things, and with things that you'll hear and you'll write down and you'll implement. But I think one of the things too that's maybe really important to remember is you're going to receive some of your own personal inspiration, shall we say, that's got nothing to do with what we're talking about, but just, you know what, that makes me think about my own life and this situation. Make sure you're writing those things down or taking that personal inspiration and using that, because that's where the gold happens too. It's not just what we're sharing, but I think those moments of, those light flashes, aren't they, sometimes, Josh, that really unlock parts of our thinking and parts of our behaviour that really does make a difference. And so make sure you're paying attention to that, not what we are saying, but what we're not saying and what's the inner voice is saying to you as this is going on.
Well, tell me if you agree with this, Lauren. You're the expert of your life.
Yeah.
And the journey that you've been on and the wealth of expertise you've been able to draw from your unique journey has blessed, tens of thousands?
Hundreds of thousands. I wouldn't have believed it. Yeah.
Hundreds of thousands.
Yeah.
And I'm on a similar journey of sharing the knowledge and the wealth that I've been able to grab out of my life. But that doesn't make us experts of your life. What do you think about that?
Doesn't make us experts in our life.
It doesn't make us experts in their life.
In their life. That's right. That's right. It's not. We're not experts in your life.
You're the expert in your life. And I want to say that again. you're the expert in your life. So it's really important that whilst we're up here sharing what life has taught us and how that could really be of great benefit to you, and I don't want to undersell the program here, there's some gold in this program that's really going to help you to grab life and get out of life what you've always hoped. But in terms of how that translates to your unique journey on this planet, this home we call Earth, you are the expert of your own life. We are not the experts of you. So it's really important that you engage with us on that premise, that you understand you are the expert of your life. You're here to grab the gold. You know, you can pick up what you want to pick up from this, and you can leave on the ground and just let it hit the ground, other concepts that maybe aren't for you. But it's those notes where what we're saying combines or merges with your life experience to become something new that's still noteworthy. Please take those notes. We're kind of hoping that this workbook becomes almost a bit of a life journal for you, something that is really valuable, that 3 months from now, 6 months from now, you pick up, flip through it. Oh, that's right.
You'll look back, you'll see, and you'll see change, won't you?
Absolutely.
And in the months to come, you will see a real transformation in the way you interact with other people, your relationships with your wife or your spouse, your children, your work colleagues. It will change.
Absolutely.
It will change, and even just your the skills that you will get to actually achieve your dream. I mean, I often say this, Josh, that people often dream about it. They think about it. They wish it. They could do it. And people come to me and say, "Lord, I can't believe I come up to you and it's like you say you're going to do something, and I turn my back, and next minute I turn around. It's like, hang on, he's not even talking about it anymore. He's finished it. He's done it." Sort of thing, and that's what we want, that transformation, so that whatever your goal is, whatever your dreams are in life, and whatever hurdles you're overcoming, or whatever the aspirations you have, you are going to make it. You're going to get to it.
So you'll hear us use this language a lot, you know. We don't want you to just passively learn this concept. We want you to actively learn it, and then we'll give you something to do. Please take that seriously. That's really where the rubber meets the road. And so right now, let's give you our first challenge. What is something that you have learned in this video or the preceding video? Maybe something you've heard for the first time, maybe a different way of saying something you've always known, but a new perspective, or maybe something just really inspirational that you don't want to miss out on, that you don't want to lose, that you want to retain. 3 months from now, you want to remember that. Write it down right now in your workbooks. Write it down. It's really important. We've got one more concept for you in this pre-course section of the course. We're going to finish this video here. Before we finish, I just want to say, if you're driving your car, listening to this in podcast at the moment, we just want to implore you, pull over. The next opportunity it is safe to do so. Pull over, grab your phone out, send yourself a text, send yourself a Facebook message. What is something that has really stood out to you in this video?
Make sure you park the car first, though, and turn the key off.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
we don't want you getting any tickets.
That's it. That's active learning, that I can tell you.
Absolutely. But in this next video, we're going to look at how to become fully motivated to change. So we're going to look at that in the next video. Stick around. Thanks, guys.